Hi, RJ. Just give us a few minutes to get everyone on. Thank you so much. Sorry that Twitter gave you a totally you just generated, hey, I just started my space. Thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, sure. Can you
All
hear me all
right,
right?
let's
I've,
just.
I've never done one of these spaces.
Yeah, you sound good to me. A little bit quiet, but I think we are good.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. Thank you again for tuning in. RJ, thank you for joining. Liat, thank you for joining. Christina, thank you for organizing. So just want to set the scene really quick. We just had a really wonderful Twitter space where we highlighted some great artists, and there was a lot of kind of concern and complaint that we weren't addressing the community's concerns. And in response to that, that's what this space is for. We've invited RJ Palmer, who's a very passionate artist and community member. Haven't spoken to you in a long time, RJ. I'm really happy to have you here. Last time I saw you, we were looking at dinosaur fossils in the Natural History Museum, filming some content. So it's good to see you again. And we're also joined by Liat, our CMO, and we're going to continue the open conversation. Again, I think that it's pretty unique that you get DeviantArt exec like Liat to come on and talk and have this conversation, and I think it's great that we're going to do so and hopefully just clear up some of the misunderstanding. So, RJ and Liat, really stoked to have you both here. Let's kick it off.
Hey RJ, nice to speak to you, not see you again.
Yeah, sure. It's been about a year, right?
Yeah, it's been a while. First of all, I think we obviously did a poor job in communicating what it is that we're doing. But I wanted to get into it with you because it's such a complicated area and it's such a hard thing at the moment for us to figure out how we actually do provide protections to deviants around everything that's happening with AI. You know, in the last year, we've seen so many AI platforms and data sets emerge, and the amount of content that's being generated through these platforms across the web. We're also obviously seeing some of that being submitted on DeviantArt and how it's impacting creators. And when we started looking at it and trying to figure out, for DeviantArt, what was the right way to approach this, speaking to the community, hearing what people want, we've heard some creators even go as far as tell us, block AI completely from DeviantArt, don't allow it on the platform. Then we have people who are really upset because they discovered, late after it had already been done, that these data sets had been built, and then the models trained using their content without their consent. And, in that sense, DeviantArt was really in the same ship because we didn't know that these data sets were being built using content from DeviantArt. Nobody told us, nobody asked us for permission. We certainly wouldn't have given it. We would never give consent on behalf of our users for something like that.
Oh, okay, but to that point, I don't want to cut you off here, but you today did launch DreamUp, right? This is
Right,
your stable diffusion interface,
right.
for-profit stable diffusion interface. You are expecting people to pay for this, and you are using the Stability AI data set that they use, which is the Lion 5B,
Yeah,
which is the
all
one. It's the
RJ,
very data
all
set that you're
true,
talking about.
all
That
true. But let me explain why we're making the decisions that we're making there. Like fair points on all of them, right? So, in order for us on DeviantArt to be able to even know what AI art is, right? So that not everyone's feed is drowned in AI art if they don't want to see it, and so that users are able to control what kind of content they're even seeing in their feeds, right? For us to know that, we could only know it if it was something that was being generated by a tool on our platform. More importantly than that, we cannot go and undo what these data sets and models have already done, right? Like, I wish we could. I wish we could go back and prevent them from taking the content that they took against people's consent, but we can't. So
but
we could wait. I promise I'll answer all of it. We could build our own model. That's true. We could start from scratch and train our own models and not use those existing models. But doing that would take us probably a couple of years in reality. And that's with a very, very strong AI team at DeviantArt. And if we waited 2 years, who knows what kind of state DeviantArt would be in 2 years from now, right? It means that we would have very little ability to impact at all what was going on the platform and what content is being submitted and how it's being submitted. So we were really left in a very hard position where our choice is either use an existing model, knowing that, yes, it has trained on content without creators' consent, okay, or push out being able to give any kind of protection whatsoever to creators for years.
okay,
So what we
but
can
there's
do,
two
though,
issues here, though. Is like one, wanting to protect artists. Like, yes, I agree. We should, like, that should be a priority. But you also have decided to launch an AI interface that uses Stable Diffusion. So what your decision here was like, oh, we're gonna either get left in the dust or we're gonna use the thing that people are already mad at?
not get left in the dust. The reason for doing it is what we're saying is, people are going to use AI art generators anyway, and they're going to submit that content to DeviantArt anyway. Even if we were to say, we ban AI art from the platform, people will just submit it and not tag it as AI art, right? There's no way for us to be able to know, especially as these tools improve over time and the image quality gets better and better. It will be near impossible for us to know what was AI art and what wasn't AI art, unless we know how the image was generated. If you're using DreamUp, we know which images were generated with DreamUp. There's no way to avoid the tagging in the system. But more than that, if you go and use any other Stable Diffusion model or platform based on the model or any other AI generator, there is no way for a creator to say, hey, you cannot use my style when you create with this, right? The protections we can implement into our tool by us taking Stable Diffusion is saying, okay, yes, it's Stable Diffusion, but at least we can prevent creators from being hurt further and people now creating art in their style after this model trained on their work against their consent. So if you use DreamUp and the creator said, you cannot use my style, people won't be able to benefit from that and then create work in your style. And even more than that, if a deviant is okay with people creating in their style, we still insist that you credit. It's built into the deviation page. There's no way of avoiding the crediting. And content that will not be credited correctly to the and the prompt is fully displayed. There's no way to remove prompts from the pages. So that ensures that creators get credit if they allow their work to be used for the style reference, and they can also not have their work used. And our hope is, RJ, that instead of people using other tools, okay, and abusing creators, okay, that they can use a more ethical tool and do it in a way that's more fair to creators. More fair, not 100% fair, because unfortunately the reality that we're faced with doesn't really give us an option to do something meaningful to actually help DeviantArt, okay, without having to rely on those existing models. We are, by the way, and I don't know if Peter's here. I'm going to ask him to jump on in a second and talk to this better than me. So Peter's head of artificial intelligence at DeviantArt, and he's actually working on a request to change the code of Stable Diffusion in the dataset, how it works so that it will respect the no AI flags that we're adding onto DeviantArt.
Okay,
right?
again,
So
that's all well and good what you've described here. That's not the concern. The concern is what you guys have just done is you have released Stable Diffusion to make it even easier for people to use, for amateur artists, for anybody who has a DeviantArt. Now they can use this. Like right now, before Stable Diffusion, you have to join a Discord server, or you have to have some technical know-how to get it to run on your home rig with like enough of a powerful rig.
no, you can use Stable Diffusion through many, many different platforms
Of course,
like Night
but now
Cafe
you are
and
just
others.
another one of those,
It's
and
very
you are
easy to
bringing it
access.
to. But yeah, it is now even easier to
No,
access because you have brought it to DeviantArt, and
RJ,
all of your
what
protections
it
that you just
is,
described,
what it
but your
is making
protections,
sure it's clear on DeviantArt, right?
yeah, okay, but
That
if somebody
art, that
screenshots the
art is
generation,
already being submitted on
yeah,
DeviantArt,
of
right?
course
It's
it is. I
already
know.
being submitted on DeviantArt. But right now, it's either not tagged correctly, and then we can't properly allow you, if you don't like AR, to turn it off in your feeds, okay? There is no credit given to the artist whose work was referenced in the styles. There's no way for creators to opt out from being used on those platforms. There's absolutely nothing. So
But all this does is protect. Like, this is like specific to the DeviantArt ecosystem now. Like, if somebody
mhm.
just, if they generate something with DreamUp, then they screenshot it, then they can upload it to DeviantArt without doing any of this tag stuff, and all of this like metadata is not there anymore. Like, this this isn't really a solution to anything. This doesn't actually protect anybody beyond just like adding like attribution on the DeviantArt page if they even choose to submit to DeviantArt at all. Like,
I,
I don't really understand.
I hear your frustration there. I think, on this, RJ, for us, the everyday challenge that we face around any content submitted on the platform, whether it comes to infringement or whether it comes to meeting our terms of service and making sure that it's content that isn't abusive or against our policies. There are so many ways that people on the web can get around and do things that they're not supposed to do. And it's our responsibility as a platform and our challenge every day to figure out ways through technology and through our customer support team and our moderators and our community volunteers, okay, to make sure that people are abiding by the rules and submitting according to the terms of service, right?
But I also think
But
what we can do is we can at least try to put the weight of DeviantArt taking a stance behind it, right? Even though you're right, we can't change what other people are doing directly. We can't prevent them from taking screenshots and posting to us and so on. But we can at least say, hey, that's not okay if you're doing it, right?
okay,
And
but your stance now is just, hey, AI art is great, make it with us. Like, um, that's not
no, we're
really
not in general, right? We're saying there should be tools around AI art and standards around AI art that give the artists control over whether they want to be included in this endeavor or not. And right now there aren't. And we're trying to
yeah.
introduce some that hopefully will get adopted. Again, all we can do is say like we think they should be adopted and say, and then let's give the artists the choice.
That I am on board with the idea of you guys like putting a system in place to like let you know if your artwork has been used this way. Like, that's not really the issue here. It's like uh
But it's not just letting you know, it's like trying to give you control, right? Trying to
Yeah.
say if
okay,
this
but
flag
what
is
I don't understand is
served with your
why.
image, you shouldn't be using it to train a model, right?
Of course, but like right now, like the way art theft works on DeviantArt, like before the DeviantArt protecting, like it was all basically like crowdsourced. Like people would find your work and be like, hey, that's and they would tag the artist and be like, hey, your work's being stolen here. So what I don't understand is why can't there just be like a category for AI art, and that you should have the ability to block seeing this category if you so choose.
That's sort of what we introduced today, right?
Right, but RJ, you assume that people, when they upload the work,
Yeah.
will tag it correctly as AI. For us to have
Yes,
a
but
category like
people,
that, we need to know what the art actually is. Now, not
why?
everyone is doing it with ill intent either, by the way, right? Somebody uploads, they submit a deviation. They don't necessarily tag it with the tool that they used, with the camera that they took the photo, with Photoshop, with the AI. Sometimes people tag correctly and sometimes they don't. Even
Yeah,
if we
and
were to try and
historically,
use,
but like historically on the platform, if somebody like uploaded an illustration to the photography category or whatever, like
yeah,
people can report that and be like, hey, this is like miscategorized. Why is that
sure,
not
but
just
RJ,
happening?
how will you know that it's AI art?
I
How
mean,
will you know? Some pieces, I agree, you can look at them and
And
tell, but
and
especially
maybe
now as it's progressing, it gets
yeah.
harder and harder every day to
And
be
we're
able
not
to
just seeing
tell.
that it's
I mean,
getting
okay,
harder
but
to
if
tell
you,
for people, but it's so the less like this you can do on the AI topic right now is actually stronger than just tags. We do have machine learning models there that try to detect what AI art is. But the problem is that it's very hard to keep up with the speed these models are developing at, right? They're getting better every day almost. And we can't like successfully identify everything anymore. It's just not possible because they're getting just so good. At least they're changing so much that we can tell and our models can tell what AI art is.
Sure. I mean, like that is a problem. Like if you reach the singularity of the point where like a discerning artist cannot tell that this is AI, like
but we're there.
that's
RJ,
not really
RJ,
like,
RJ, this is Mote, and then we're there. And it's if we're not there, it's going to be very, very soon
of
that
course.
we'll not be able to decide. So only if we can be at the beginning of the creation process with this tool, we'll be able to guarantee that what you're seeing is AI and tag it correctly and let you browse art the way you want and tag people correctly and give people the credit correctly. We are the only look. I think AI, we like it or not, it doesn't matter. It's evolution. It's coming full force, and very soon it's going to be part of Photoshop. There are talks about integration to Photoshop, to Canva, and other tools. It's happening. I like it. I don't like it. Doesn't matter. It's bigger forces than us. And we are the only platform coming and putting front and center the issues of consent, the issue of getting artists the right credit when they're using their style, the issue or the ability for people to opt out of other creators or other people to use their style. We are the only platform is doing that. When you submit today to Twitter, to Instagram, to Facebook, whatever, nobody even they don't even care that those platforms, or I don't know that they care if those data sets are taking your images, right? We are the only platform, and this is why I actually want you happier, because we're coming and saying, this is important. You need to listen to what artists want, what creators want. You cannot ignore that. You've ignored it in the past. Fine, you had some kind of a benefit of doubt. You didn't ask for permission. Now you're asking for apology. Fine. The reason why we're using Stable Diffusion because it's the only option for us to take an open source and modify it so we can put the checks and balances inside. The other platforms or the other companies do not allow it. It's centralized companies with closed models. I'll take Midjourney, for example. We cannot modify it. So we're taking a version, and by the way, that was my decision. I mean, that's our decision by me as the CEO. That's my decision to take Stable Diffusion because it's the only option that we can take and modify it and put those checks and balances. And now put in front of the world to say, okay, AI is here. We're not going to ban it because we never banned or censored anything that for used for creativity for the last 22 years, and we're not going to do it now. But this is the first time that we need to respect artist decision, how those images are being used. And I want your help to elevate this issue and to put pressure on those AI companies to respect those tags and to other platforms for creators to respect and to follow the AI tags and to implement that as well. That's the only option, because if now you're deciding, someone will decide, okay, I'm not going to post to DeviantArt, I'll post it to whatever, any other platform, those image data set will take it from there. And they have zero indication whether you like it to be trained on AI or not. And it will take long time until regulation will kick in and will say this is not a fair use or it is a fair use. So we are the only platform that is doing that. Help us push, and we need to better communicate. And by the way, within the next 30 to 40 minutes, we're going to introduce the bulk. We're going to introduce on the settings of your account, each one of the creators will be able to, with one checkbox, to designate for all the previous images and submissions. You don't need to go one by one. Yeah, we thought we didn't think about. We moved very fast, and we wanted to put that in front of everyone and take a lot of pride of the fact that we are the only platform putting this checks and balances front and center. So within the next hour, it's going to be, and you'll be able to go to your account and check on the account setting. I think the team is already updating the journal to provide this information, and it's going to roll out. And if you don't want those AI companies or data sets to, you'll be able to signal that to them on everything else, not just on future submissions. And we are the only companies doing that.
No, like your whole message here about like wanting to get out ahead of this, like I agree with that. I like this is the exact sort of like trying to find a way to regulate this that I've been shouting at the mountains for. But like, man,
So
like
we're
the
with
way that
you.
you guys like put this out and message this, like, and launching it alongside the Stable Diffusion interface, like that that has such bad like messaging and optics here. Like, if you had wanted to do this way, like why did you not set it everything like everything is opted into
Listen,
the whatever
RJ,
protection by
we
default?
fully take the feedback here that we didn't message this as well as we could have. Obviously, it really was not intentional. We're trying to communicate what we're doing here, and all of the intents around it. So I agree. We're working on updating the journals to help clarify all the issues, and explain better where stuff needs to be explained. So, it's a really, really complex topic to cover.
I know. I understand it's complex, and I like you use a lot of this sort of like corporate speech with me, Leon, like specifically. When you said earlier that like it needs to be an active artist decision to decide whether or not to like opt into this protection or opt out or whatever. However, we're gonna like you understand the point I'm trying to say. Like, but you already did make a decision for people
No,
by
so
leaving it off.
we didn't make a decision. I think, RJ, what I was trying to explain, I think the word opt out was a poor choice of words on our part, right? To be clear, DreamUp does not use any deviations to impact our generator and our models, right? It does not use it at all, regardless of whether you put the flag of the no AI or not on your content. But because we're using Stable Diffusion's model, okay, and we are impacted by the data sets that they choose to use under the model, okay, it's important that all content moving forward from DeviantArt can say whether it wants to end up ultimately in one of these models or not, right? So it's
Okay, but
not
what
for
about like
us
the artists
to.
that have
So
like
what I was trying
profiles
to
that are
say to
dead?
you, RJ, just to be clear, what I was trying to say to you is it's not for us as DeviantArt to decide by default that you want to remove your art from a data set, right? We cannot decide that by default it should be out and only if users want to put it in. It's not even up to us whether it's in the model or not, right? They are coming and scraping the open web. So what we're asking you is we're saying, do you want us to actively add tags to your deviation pages, shouting to anyone who tries to scrape DeviantArt, this content is not allowed to be used for training data models. By the way,
And again, that's great.
RJ, do you even understand that we're doing something that's got nothing to do with DeviantArt? It's got nothing to do with DreamUp. We never, ever agreed for these models to come and take content from DeviantArt. Okay, we're fighting the battle alongside you. We're going beyond to say, you know what, because we're DeviantArt, because we have the scale of creators and content on the platform that we do, we're going to put leverage behind that so that they can't ignore creators anymore, right? Right now, how can you guys even complain to these AI platforms, right? What are you going to do? You have to put out a tweet hoping that somebody takes notice of you, or go send an email to a support center that never answers you. There's no
I
way for you
understand.
to opt out of anything,
I
right? That's
understand.
what
Like,
we're trying to do
and
there. So
what you have
what I was
described.
trying to say to you is we cannot decide for you, but 100% it's
But you
not.
can, because you already have. When you did the DeviantArt Protect against the NFT stuff, that was turned on by default. I don't understand why you can't do that here, especially for artists who don't use the platform
No,
anymore,
it's not.
or artists who
It's
are
not the
dead.
same thing, RJ. We cannot add. It's like me deciding that you want your deviation to have certain licensing or copyright on it. It's a usage right. You need to decide for yourself, okay, how you agree for your art to be used. DeviantArt cannot decide that
Okay,
for
so
you.
then what you need to
But
do is you need to put out like a message in everybody's notifications that lays this out to them, and then give them a yes or no if they want all of their like existing deviations,
that's
out
a
or in.
really good idea. It's a really good idea. By the way, Moti said before, in the next hour, we will have a single setting under
Yeah.
your settings section. and we will send out a notification linking people directly to that setting as you suggest.
And to be clear too here, that it's a bit different from the protect case, right? Because at least in the protect case, there are laws around what's right, and you could go file a DMCA, right? So there's at least some established legal precedent that, hey, this is actually not okay. There is, as far as I'm aware, I'm not a lawyer, there isn't any such thing for this use case right now, right?
And it's even more than that, Peter. It's even more than that. RJ.
Right.
Exactly. We can give you the alert of potential infringement. We cannot submit the DMCA on your behalf. It's exactly that. You need to say, oh, you know what? It's already infringement, and yes, I want to file a DMCA. It's not DeviantArt to make the decision.
Exactly. So as we're proposing what is a voluntary standard, we also have to make sure that people have reason to take it seriously, right? And if we just say nothing on DeviantArt may ever be used in this way ever, I doubt that we will get traction, right? Like it has to be meaningful that the artist said, no, I don't want this. Not just like a blanket, okay, like, that's not going to fly. Because we don't have that power.
And that's why if you put out like, a message to everyone that says, hey, do you want this?
Yeah,
I think that's like an acceptable compromise. But like,
absolutely,
I think this is a good idea.
Very aware of this, right?
This is a great idea. We'll put notification. We'll make sure everyone is aware, and let people make their decision. And we'll make sure that it's being communicated to those AI companies. But I'm going again, RJ. This is something that you'll need to help us to put the pressure on all the platforms that are in this domain. Again, AI companies, dataset images, and other platforms for creators. We cannot win this by ourselves. We cannot own the web.
And maybe to mention again too, where we can do this, we are already doing this. I mean, obviously we're talking to some of these companies, but we are also actually, trying to get them to accept modifications to their dataset collection code that already respects this flag. Whether it comes from DeviantArt or not, if it's in there, then the next time they run their data collection, it shouldn't take any images that are flagged in such a way.
But they're already in there. Is the thing. Like so? But like that.
Yeah. I mean, we
you
can't
have
change
to understand how that is still like a concern to artists. Like you are like using.
RJ, of course it's a concern. Of course it's a concern, and it should be, right?
But it feels like an ethical line that has been crossed here. That you're like, oh, we must protect artists, but first we're going to build a tool that uses their stuff that's already been taken. Like,
no,
you see how RJ, this feels like mixed messaging,
yes,
right?
Yes, RJ, I totally get where you're coming from. I want to just add on here the clarification. What we're saying is, by us having the tool, what we can do to kind of undo some of the hurt that's been done by these models and data sets, right? Because you're right, they've already trained on your content, right? They already took it. That's not something DeviantArt can ever undo them having done, okay?
Well, no, but you are also, it's not that, I'm not asking you guys to undo it, but what you are doing now is just jumping in and using it anyways. Because like, you're like, oh, spilled milk was already there. We may as well lick it up off the floor. Like, this sucks, man. Like,
No. But the difference is that now we're taking those models. Sorry about the echo. Now we're taking the model and we can put the other checks and balances, right, in the style of, and crediting and tagging and better browsing. We can do it with our own model. This is what Liat referred at the beginning of the conversation, that if we wanted to do something from the start, it will take us 2-3 years to get there. And by then, everything that we've mentioned will not be possible. So yes, it's two different things that we're doing. One is that no AI tag, and the other one is providing a tool that at least there is some kind of a fair usage into it as a first step. Now,
okay, but so this 2 to 3 years figure you keep mentioning, like, that doesn't sit right with me. Like a friend of mine is like, he works in AI safety, like, and he has relayed to me that it only took like 6 months to train Stable Diffusion. And like the difference between what DALL-E 2 can do and DALL-E 1 can do, there was only a year apart in those as well. Like, I don't understand why it would take you 2 to 3 years to use like the Stable Diffusion, which is already open source, use that and then make a new data set for it that is not crossing any ethical lines.
Well, we did it for Protect, and it does just, we have a very small AI team of 4 people essentially, and it did take us many months to just get all the infrastructure up to do that right. You need a lot of GPUs to train these models, and a lot of money, honestly, to train these models. But we were willing to spend that in the Protect. We might be willing to spend that here, but it would certainly delay product launch by months, if not a year at least, in my just technical opinion.
But you see how different the response would be publicly if you came out and you said, hey, this is 100% ethically sourced. Like, we have already asked all the deviants if we can use their stuff, and then we have like made deals with whatever, like, you guys can find your own like stock photo websites or whatever to make deals with. Like, and then you come out and you say, hey, here's the tool that you guys, if you want to play with AI, you can do so freely here and not feel bad about it. And then you get like a big fucking PR win instead of getting like thousands of like quote retweets today.
Yeah, I think it's purely a question of like, it would be a long delay, right? Like, we'd have to first implement everything that we just did with the flag and everything, and then get everybody to set the flag appropriately on DeviantArt, which is probably a several month effort right there, and then start collecting even the data set to start training the model. I don't know. I mean, it's just a long delay. It's entirely possible, but I'm just afraid it would be just too late.
Can I speak as an artist? That I'm also DeviantArt and the DeviantArt collector. I think you had a lot of time to talk. Can you let now also artists talk? I think you clearly explained your point. I think everybody understands your point. Can I also chip in at this point?
I brought you up here because I wanted to level the artist DeviantArt representation. So please chip in and let's we'll try to organize a little bit so there's more of a back and forth and less of a So please,
yeah,
Sims, love to hear from you.
I'm
Love to have you up here.
backlash. Also, I just want to say that I'm also getting a little bit of backlash as well. Like, so I just want to say that, like, I think that it's good what the idea of wanting to try new things. I just think that it's important to make things in the right way, though, because like I am on DeviantArt for a long while, and I supported DeviantArt, and I would like to keep doing that. But the problem is that, like, if suddenly something happens like this, and I'm put with the shoulders behind the wall, and it's kind of weird. You know what I mean? That's what I wanted to say.
Thank you, Sims. Moti, why don't you pick back up? I know you had something you wanted to say there as well.
Yeah, thanks, Sims. No, I just want to just a bit of a flavor of what we've seen in the last few months. The amount of AI art submission that we know is increased by 1,000%. I just want to connect back to what Peter mentioned, how long it will take us. So just in the last few months, 1,000% increase of submission of pieces of AI that we know. There is a good amount of other submissions that are AI as well that we do not know for sure. So we can't 12, 18 months continue let it happen on DeviantArt without tackling, again, the issue of the style of crediting, of tagging, of better browsing. It's not possible. If it's in the last 2-3 months, we've seen that kind of increase. The infiltration of AI.
Have you considered implementing like a maximum uploads per day? Like, a lot of these dudes I've seen on, like the front page is flooded with AI generated images. It's just because like these guys get access to Stable Diffusion and they just throw up like 100 pictures in a day.
Look, censoring the amount of submission and understanding exactly if users want to abuse and manipulate, they will always be able to do that, right? And censoring and banning people for submit up until number of submissions is not the right way to go. It's just not the right way to go.
I'm not asking you to censor people or ban anybody for it, but like, who needs to upload more than 10 illustrations a day, right? Like, you can find a number that feels fine and normal. Maybe, you know, it's 50 or whatever. Like you don't need to let.
But then those 50 might be AI, and people will open alt accounts and will create more. Or RJ, we've seen so much in the last 20 years how people can find loopholes and bypass whatever rules.
And to be
Of
clear,
course they have. But
the problem is also not just submission volume. It's also that people interact with it, right? And are,
but they're interacting with it because it's being shown to them, because it's making it their way, to their front page, because it is pulling from whatever interests that they may have, like, content like curated already. So like,
and now we will have a better way. You're right. And now we'll have a better way to understand exactly what is AI and what is not AI, and give you to your homepage, if you prefer not to consume AI, an experience that exclude all those pieces. And for people that wants to see it, there is no misleading anymore when it comes to DreamUp. That's the key. There is no misleading. You cannot change the tagging. You cannot change the prompt. You cannot change.
Only, again, if they make it with your version of Stable Diffusion. If they are using their own Stable Diffusion, or if they're using my Midjourney or whatever, like, that's not going to stop this.
True. And this is where I'm coming back and saying we are the first platform that actually put those checks and balances into the tool. Let's make sure, help us, and all the artists in this Twitter space, help us to put the pressure that DeviantArt is not the only platform that do it. Help us, please.
And honestly, like, we, and again, like, the filter we're adding, the less like this is broader than our own stuff, so it should catch a good chunk of things submitted from Midjourney. And honestly, RJ, if we really believed that capping the number of submissions would, just like lower the volume of AR, and now those were the people we would like actually be catching with that, we would probably do it, right? But whenever we do something like that, it usually hurts a lot of people that we didn't think about more than the people we did mean to limit.
And I understand, like, this is just like off the top of my head here, and of course there could be certain creatives that are making it all by hand and they still want to submit 50 things a day. But like, this feels like one of those things that you could try out, like, not even necessarily tell people, and then, like, if they reach that limit, if they're submitting AI or not, and then they can, like, appeal to have that limit removed.
RJ, we don't do things without being transparent, right? That's not fair.
Okay, you
to users
people,
either, right? So
announce that, like, from now on, it's 25 images per day. Like, it feels like not a lot of people are going to.
RJ, I don't think that it's our place to censor what people post, right? Not censor the type of art and not censor the amount of art or content.
But you do censor that already. Like, you already have guidelines with, like, you don't allow, full penetration and all, like, sorts of.
Yeah, it's true. There are terms of service. You're right. Okay, as a platform, we need to have policies and guidelines that help to keep the community safe, right? They're there for a reason. Some of them are there because of regulation, and some of them are there to keep the community safe. But beyond that, we never censor what is art, what is not art, what kinds of genres can be on the platform, how much art you can put. DeviantArt is not there to be the judge of those things. We do agree that we should try to provide a better way for you to control what you consume on DeviantArt, right? And that goes back to what Motti and Peter were saying about the tagging and the identifying of the AI art, right? We do want to try and make it easy for you to enjoy the kind of art that you want to see and engage with the creators that you want to.
Okay, I mean, I'm like really trying to hear you out here, but I don't buy it when you say that you are not the arbiter of, like, how many things somebody can post. This seems like such an easy thing to enact, and I don't think people are going to be mad about it, especially if you're very transparent, like you like to be, about why you're doing it, to limit the amount of oversaturation of AI images. I go to my front page and I check this, like, a few times a week, and I count the fucking number of deviations that are AI generated, and it's easily 25 to 30% every time.
But to get back to what you're saying, like, I mean, we are trying to give users control in the best way that we can with somewhat sophisticated tool things that we have to see less AI art on their homepage, right? That's what one of the things we released today. And again, like if there's another way that's better, we would probably give users that control. And you said yourself that maybe just limiting the number of submissions isn't it, right? Like, and I honestly don't think it is. This is the best we honestly could come up with to let
okay,
you.
But this is like the same argument people use against deplatforming
on your homepage.
Deplatforming, like people always say, like if you deplatform somebody, it doesn't really matter because they can just like go somewhere else. But like it does stop them eventually. Like Alex Jones was like effectively declawed when he was deplatformed in 2018. Like this is something that does work. Like if you make it just a little bit harder, that is going to weed out enough people. Like.
But RJ, we're not
isn't
trying
that what
to
we're
weed
doing
out
by letting people
people.
see less of it? Like, is that not a form of deplatforming? I guess I'm trying to understand what else we should do. Like we're trying to de-promote it for people who don't want to see it. Isn't that exactly what?
Yeah, but having less of it is also like a problem. Like, or like that's what you should want. You shouldn't want your entire like site to be overloaded with these like slapdash images that's not getting much traction per image. Like,
but if we're not showing them to people, does it matter? I mean, there's a lot of stuff that you don't see that gets submitted every day, right? Like,
but
if nobody sees it, who cares?
Correct me if I'm wrong, because I haven't messed around with it yet. The way the no AI thing that you introduced today, it's a tag that you have to take from this DeviantArt journal and then copy and paste it and then go into your settings and then add it to your banned tags list, right?
No, absolutely not. You just turn it on once in your settings, RJ. So you can do it either per deviation or across all your deviations from your settings. We add it to the HTML of the page on your behalf once you've requested to add it. So there's not work for you.
So is there a way to not see AI art then? Or like,
yes.
Like how do you do that?
So there's now a topic, AI art, and when you go to it, there's a little pull down that says "Show me less of this type of stuff," and then you should see less of it on your homepage as well as we could do. Honestly, we've tried a lot of stuff, and this is the best we can do, even including things that aren't necessarily tagged as AI art.
RJ, I want to make sure that you understood both of those points, because I felt like they were misconstrued in some tweet context. So if you do have any specific questions about that, please ask them now. I think that you have the room.
No, I think I get it. It's just you have to find the topic on your front page first, right? And then you have to like individually click on that topic and tell it you want less of this.
Yeah, it's shared in the journal, RJ. I'll link it to you so that you can follow it. But yeah, you go one time to the topic page, and then you can say that you don't want to see that kind of content anymore.
And we're going to continue to find ways to make the best platform for all artists, people that are using AI and not using AI. And I think that it's not going to be perfect out the gate, but to be a part of the narrative beats standing on the sidelines, especially for a platform like DA that matters to so many of us. So,
and we know that the topic is visible on your homepage, right? Like if you just go to your homepage and get explore topics, it's, I think, forced to be the first one, so you see it. And if you click on it, you can just say on the three dots, less like this. So
sure,
but we can promote that more, honestly.
Yeah, that would be great, because like there's just so many people that I know. Just like, I mean, even me, like I've been using the site for 17 years. Like I have used it actively way less, because every time I go to the front page, it says, quarter of it's AI slop. Like, and I don't want to see that shit. And like I block as many people as I can, and I block all these fucking tags. But you only let you block like 100 tags, and everybody tags things differently. Like you have to tag AI art, AI artist, and then like without the underscore. It's like insane.
Yeah.
But,
so I really hope the topic helps, because again, it uses more than just text.
Yeah, and that's great. Again, so none of my issues have necessarily been with your intent behind wanting to protect artists from like this future and the way that AI is working right now. I am still very concerned that you guys decided to just jump in and be like, hey, we have a stable diffusion generator that just uses what stable diffusion already has. And like that to me feels like you've crossed a line here that takes any goodwill you have from this like botched messaging of being like, oh, we want to protect artists and keep their images out of these data sets, when you're still using a data set that uses the art that's in there. Like it feels like very mixed messages here, and
Yeah.
not in a good way.
RJ, we hear you. We hear you, and it's a very fair and valid point, and one that we debate ourselves. So we understand. Other than, again, reiterating to you, just the reason we're doing that is so that we can prevent artists who don't want their style to be used through these generators from opting out from that, giving credit to artists who are being used and implementing the model in a better way, right? So, if we were not to do that, we would be left with all of the existing situation and all of the frustrations that you've just described, right? So the combination of all these things are meant to improve our ability to identify and tag the AI art, to improve the browsing, to credit artists, to let people opt out where they don't want to be used to inspire in an AI generator, and then ultimately to give you the DeviantArt, experience and browsing that you want. But it's not perfect yet.
Okay, so I have a question. So right now, like, say if somebody didn't get around to like opting in to make sure that their artwork wasn't used for these data sets, and then it is used in a future data set, and like an image that it's generated with that, it's then submitted to DeviantArt. How is that relayed to the artists that were used? And what is it just like, because the way AI generators work, they're using like thousands, millions, like so many images. Is it just going to be like a list of like 400 artists under the deviation?
No, so I didn't fully understand your question. Are you talking about if somebody is using another generator, not DreamUp?
Or even if it is DreamUp, like, because there are so many artists on DeviantArt that do not have, like, they are not active with their accounts, they are not up to date, so they cannot choose to do this opt into the protection thing. Like, so those people, like, say in a future version of DreamUp or Stability AI or whatever is using this data set, their art gets scraped and used for it. And then, like, say maybe
RJ,
years later, they come back.
100%. That's why we're saying we need your help and we need every other platform's help out there. DeviantArt cannot solve the web by ourselves.
What I'm asking here. What I'm asking is, like, how is this displayed to the artist if they fall victim to this, even though they didn't want it, because they never, like say they log into DeviantArt in 5 years after having an account that they didn't log into for 10, and they log in and they're like, oh, what are these notifications?
If you were credited in a deviation that was made with DreamUp, you will get a notification. So
now, is that only for people, like, if their name is used in a prompt, or is this going to catch, like, when their deviation is used?
It's when the name is used in a prompt. Your deviation is not used, right? We don't allow people to use a piece of art to generate.
I think I understand the question. But it's so these models don't contain any particular knowledge about the particular images that they were trained on once they're trained.
But they do, like, still, like, you still can find out the data set that this image came from.
The data set, sure, yeah.
Yes.
But when you run the model, right, there's no way for you to know which particular images it drew from. There are no particular images it drew from. It's just producing something given everything that it's learned, which is now just a bunch of numbers. So we can't like credit a particular artist when we run the model, because we'd have to credit the whole data set every time.
RJ, are you talking about all the accounts that do not? What will happen to creators that have not logged into DeviantArt for the last 5 years? Whether their images will be used in future models? That I think that's what you're asking, right? How we can. So going back, I'll say it again. We're trying to make a lot of noise, but we're trying to make a lot of outreach through different media outlets, including what we're doing this here with these conversations, and going back to you and fellow creators, use your help us to spread the word that DeviantArt is the only platform that can help you take your art and decide whether it can be used for future models to be trained on that. So if there are accounts or artists that were not active in the last 5 years, I'm sure they're following Twitter. I'm sure they're following you. I'm sure they're following other.
No, of course they're not though. Like there are people that are dead that have DeviantArt accounts. Like this. Like that's why I'm very pro. Turning this on
But
by
how
default.
how can we make the decision for them? How can we make the decision for them? How can we make the
You
decision
just
for
update
anyone?
your
This is
terms of service on the site. Like I don't understand. I'm not a lawyer here, so maybe I'm out of my depth. But like this feels perfectly within the realms of like the service that you provide. You already get people's permission to host their images on your servers. This can just be another permission that is in the terms of service. You update the terms of service. You don't have to get dead people's consent when you update the terms of service.
no, that's not true. That's not true.
You don't? Well,
No,
you
it's
have
not
to get
going
people.
it's not going retroactively on everything that was past before changing. It's going forward, and we can't take responsibility for. Look, if there are people that unfortunately passed away, or I don't know, we'll see what we can do with that, right? And we have some artists, and we know from that unfortunately passed away. So we'll see what we'll do with them. We'll try to connect with their relatives or to help to help them make the decision whether they want to opt out or not. But the majority of fellow creators are here alive, thank God, and we encourage you all to come and make a decision how you want those models, if you want those models to train on your data sets or not. This is not the DeviantArt to make the decision. And like think about it, we are going to be the only platform that protect um, your your pieces, your art, both from infringement on NFT as well as for training AI models. We're the only one. I understand your frustration and your passion around that, but take a look around, and there are no other platforms that will let you do that. So I understand the frustration, but how? Like, we're with you. We're in the same side when it comes to those meta tags. Help us
Well,
bring your fellow creators. Help us to bring fellow creators to decide if they want to submit to tag it or not, and put the pressure on other platforms to follow this initiative, to follow this directive.
and I would be super on board with this if you didn't also launch your stable diffusion DreamUp thing. Like if you were using your own data set, this would be like not the issue that is like happening right now. Like I have been from the very start being like, yeah, I know AI, we're not getting rid of this, we're not putting this back in the bag. Like, but we need regulations. And what you are proposing are regulations here, but you're also like, hey, here's some like ideal regulations, but also we're doing the exact same thing that's been pissing you off. Like this.
You're going between, I hear you, but you're going between two different things. From one end, you're saying what's going on with all the past submission, and I'm answering, yeah, I'm trying to provide some kind of a solution to that, and then we're going back to why did you take an open source stable diffusion and you introducing it, and there is a reason, different reasons why we did that, for the crediting and tagging and the opting out from the style of, because otherwise people will go to the Mid Journeys of the world and create art in your style over there without giving you credit, or without giving you even the option to say do not use it.
I just want to jump in real quick, RJ, and I want to thank you for taking the time to get up here on this stage and have this conversation. And of course, we got some of the exec team up here, and I think that's also equally as brave. And thank you guys so much for doing that. I feel like you came in and had multiple concerns, and it's narrowed down to one, which feels like progress at least. And again, there's no perfect solution, and we're going to continue to work. I'd like to use this stage to bring a couple other people up and just give the opportunity for artists to speak on behalf of themselves, and before we wrap. Snuffles, I see you as well. So yeah. Justin, Eric, you're both up here. Please, if you guys want to chime in as well, and RJ, of course, chime in when you see fit.
Justin, you can go ahead. I missed the beginning of the discussion, so I'm missing a little bit of context to be able to contribute. I was interested in hearing RJ's questions about this and his concerns about it. RJ, can I ask you a question? Like, what would be your ideal outcome here? Because I'm trying to think of one as well. Like, what you said about artists who aren't active on the site or aren't able to change their settings anymore, not being able to really make a decision about participating. Well, can you think of a way to do it? Like, would it just be everyone opts out and then opt in? Because that doesn't
that's
work.
my ideal, but like they've explained that seems not doable. I guess from a legal perspective, the sort of compromise that we discussed earlier was like they're going to put out a message and like explain it to everybody, and then give them a yes or no. Like, do you want all your deviations in or out of this? And like, I think that's a good compromise. My preferred outcome here would be to shelve the DreamUp project until it gets a proprietary, ethically sourced image data set that didn't come from the Lion 5B set that Stable Diffusion is using.
Yeah, that. I mean, I can see the sense in that for sure. My biggest concern about the launch is just that opting out seems difficult at the moment. From the conversations I've had with the team, it sounds like the tools are coming, but per our discussion earlier, I agree that launching with those tools would have been an ideal outcome to be able to easily not participate.
And Justin, just because you missed the first part, we're actually introducing that within the next hour or two. We'll introduce a tool that on your account settings, you'll be able to, and with one click, with one checkbox, you'll be able to state on all your deviations, on all your past deviations, to be tagged with no AI. So this is being taken care of.
That's phenomenal. That's a great outcome. See, Eric, you should have gone first. You could have said something intelligent.
I mean, I was going to ask the same thing, but in the same boat, I think like one big matter of the heart to all artists of all walks is the fact that, platforms like DeviantArt have been around for over 20 years at this point. You look at Tumblr, Behance, Cargo, et cetera, once something's published, you can still use Wayback Machines and archival machines to pull up things, even if there's no server or hosting or website to actually dig through that content. And I think the hard part is there's no way to shake up / stimulate the box of everybody that's ever registered and published anything ever on DeviantArt. And so to have like a uniform solution or universal solution by an opt-in or opt-out switch, I think that just, it seems unrealistic, because you wouldn't have everybody do it, and there just wouldn't be a way to have everybody do it. But then the hard part, again, which is also the case in sampling and in music, where years and years later people are getting sued for one little usage of 2 seconds of a track, is the fact that like the traceability and trackability of this stuff, as more and more AI platforms exist, is going to become even more and more difficult to find what these images are sourced from or derived from. So it's, I don't want to say it's a lost cause, but it's such a difficult thing to find a solution for that works for everybody, because like there's 7 new apps per week that come out utilizing similar aggregators and similar appropriators of content, similar to your Wombo and your Midjourney and your Dale and so on and so forth. So it's just like, I'd be curious of asking in a similar way, RJ, if you feel like, do you think it's a lost cause? Because in the next couple of years, we're going to be at a point, maybe it won't even take a couple of years, but we won't really be at a point of being able to pull back anything or actually like, protect the IP. Like, I think do you see like a silver lining?
I mean, I've been pretty pessimistic since I first saw, what DALL-E 2 could do. I mean, again, I want to stress that like the intentions behind like some of the programs that are being put into effect, like those seem fine. Like the idea of being able to credit somebody when they're using a prompt like that is cool. it doesn't feel good when it's coupled with a new AI like platform for DeviantArt. Like that feels like, one step forward, two steps back.
But we can't enable it without it. I understand. Yeah, this is that's the compromise that we need to do. We can't bring the style off, and we cannot tag and give the credit. And by the way, the credit is not just it's not just a text. The credit takes specifically to the profile of the artist, that it was inspiring, creating some kind at least of flow of traffic for artists that want to let other people create in their style. So at least they will get a lot of hopefully a lot of traffic, because they're inspiring many other creators. So perfect, of course not. Less than perfect. We cannot change the past. But I'm saying that again, and we're the only platform or only tool that is actually doing that. And I think seeing more the Wombos AIs and other night cafes and other platforms adopting that, so there is some kind of a fair usage, and providing creators the ability to opt out of that is critical. And we're doing that and we wanted to do it fast, because otherwise it might be too late. And then going back to all of you artists here, I mean, help us with the pressure. Help us, we cannot do it by ourselves. We cannot do it by ourselves. We do not own the web. We do not own all the other creator platforms. So what we can do is just show a little bit of how it's supposed to be done, and don't be angry at us. Help us to push other tools and platforms to incorporate that. And this is phase one. This is just the start of what we want to do, and putting those checks and balances in place. Sooner we wanted to do it as soon as possible, so we can put the pressure and continue evolving and developing those safety and checks and balances. Anyway.
Well, and again, you guys you need to not use the Stable Diffusion Lion 5B training set. Make your own training set, and the artist community would be on your side. Like, if you came out with a way to be like, hey, we can protect you and make sure that when your work is being used in a trading set without your permission, and also we have a way to do this like that is ethically sourced, especially because you said it could take like a year or two. By that time, enough artists might have succumb to the idea that this is going to be a part of the future of this industry, and that you need to understand that AI is here. But if you want to use it ethically, DeviantArt has a way for you to do that.
I hate to do this, but I think we kind of have to wrap up here. We have clearly we have a lot of work to do, as has been made clear. So we got to get to it. I do want to say that again, thanking everybody that showed up here. We're going to continue the conversation, and everyone that has requested, come next week. Let's talk about it some more. I also want to say that while this might not be the most perfect solution, you can do nothing, and your art's going to continue to get scraped without permission and without our permission from DeviantArt, from Pinterest, from ArtStation, from everywhere. Or you can check no AI in your settings on DeviantArt, and we're going to do our best and push for AI generators to stop. And that's kind of, I think, Moti's plea as well, is like, if this is a problem, we see it's a problem, and we're giving you a flag to raise with us. Again, nothing is a perfect solution. But I do think that it is the step there. I do want to give everyone a chance to just kind of say final piece before we have to break. And we are going to be live again in an hour, on camera this time, making llamas, hopefully having some fun. And I encourage you guys all to jump in on that as well. We'll have mods in the chat, and we can continue chatting as well. So with that, I pass it around for everyone to kind of say goodbyes. Justin, why don't you kick us off?
I enjoyed listening to this. I have, my own opinions and feelings about all of this. It was great to see them addressed and represented so well by RJ, and then answered by the team. So Thanks for that. I think there's more conversation to come, and I wish I'd caught the start of this. I shouldn't be talking.
Moti, if you want to speak on kind of behalf of Liat as well, and then RJ, I want to let you speak as well.
Yeah. This is just recapping. This is far from being optimal or ideal, but this is, I feel personally, this is the first step of addressing artist concerns, frustrations, and providing a little bit of checks and balances and tools to opt out or to get the right crate, the right tagging. And we'll continue to develop that, like you said, right? This is step one. But at least we're putting the issues of AI front and center for the first time, the only platform. So hope to get some support to put the pressure on other platforms as well, whether it's AI like Midjourney or Wombo or other creative platforms.
Yeah, cool. Thanks for talking, I guess, publicly, so we can try and figure some of this out. I'm glad that you said you're gonna put out a notification to everybody to like make sure they understand and get a checkbox to say yes or no if they want their images in there. Looking forward to seeing that as soon as possible. I'm still very concerned about using the Lion 5B set from Stable Diffusion, but sounds like I can't change your guys' mind. So I guess that's my piece.
RJ, thank you. And I wouldn't say you can't change our mind, right? We're starting with a certain model at the moment, but like Peter said, we're always working to develop additional stuff. So if that becomes an option, we might still be able to get there. But I know it's a really challenging topic, and especially for creators, it comes with a lot of complex issues that you guys have to deal with. So RJ, we always appreciate your feedback and hearing from you and Justin and everyone else on the call. So thank you guys for the time and the input, and we'll keep talking.
Thank you guys all for joining. Tune in next week because we're going to have Elon on and be talking about the blue checks. I'm kidding. Sorry. Just a little humor to end the space. I love you guys. RJ, I can't thank you enough. Seriously. I know you're speaking on behalf of the artist community. We hear you loud and clear. We'd love to have you on. And again, we're all open, right? You have the entire staff here ready to hear what you have to say, listen to what you have to say, and respond to what you have to say. And I think that's what makes DA special. So thank you guys all for tuning in. Snuffles, I see you. I'm sending you a DM. Let's have a one-on-one soon. Appreciate everybody. Let's speak soon. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks.